Your life is loud, not just the noise outside, the constant internal chatter, the desperate chase for external validation. You measure your value by the reactions of others. This is why you command no real respect. Respect is not something you beg for, nor is it a title bestowed by the fickle crowd. It is the natural consequence of rigorous internal control. We look for answers in algorithms and self-help fluff, when the code for true authority was etched in the desert rock long ago. Imagine an elder, silent, moving with measured economy. He does not need to shout to be heard. His presence forces attention. The Navajo call this k'e, or respect built on relational harmony and wisdom, a wisdom that aligns perfectly with the iron core of Stoicism. Both philosophies demand the same foundational training: discipline over desire, silence over noise. Stop seeking applause. Start building the fortress. Because the moment you demand nothing from the world starts paying attention. This is not about being liked. This is about being solid. The modern architecture of attention is built entirely on your fragility. Every notification, every public opinion poll, every request for your emotional labor is a tax on your focus. The system thrives on the external locus of control. We are conditioned to outsource our self-worth, making stability impossible. You wake up and immediately surrender your mental fortress, seeking immediate validation or distraction before your feet even hit the floor. This instant transference of authority, from your disciplined will to the chaos of the outside world, is the first failure point. The consequence is perpetual instability. You become brittle, responding with equal force to minor inconveniences and major threats, because your internal metric system is broken. The Navajo elder, observing the rhythm of the high desert, models the inverse. His self-worth is non-negotiable, rooted in his internal training and adherence to his own standards. The world can churn, the market can crash, but the quality of his character remains untouched. Until you wall off your inner territory, you will remain a slave to reactivity, and authority will always elude you. The specific anomaly is not spectacular. It is the daily grinding failure of the pause button. Consider a slight, a minor offense, or perceived incompetence from another person. The modern response is immediate escalation, a public performance of emotional wreckage. This uncontrolled leakage, this instant need to justify, explain, or attack, is a surrender of command. It is weakness disguised as assertiveness. Seneca warned that anger is temporary madness. The Navajo elder sees this leakage as a violation of hoju, internal harmony, a sign of an untamed spirit. When you immediately externalize your discomfort, you give the external event a permanent, controlling lease in your mind. The discipline required is to pause, to absorb the friction internally without broadcasting the damage. Marcus Aurelius emphasized enduring insults without reaction, maintaining the inner principality. The problem is not the trigger itself. It is the instantaneous combustion that follows, confirming you are not the master of your own domain. The great resistance to internal training is the belief that discipline is repression. Most confuse emotional control with emotional absence. They argue that suppressing feelings is unhealthy, believing instead in therapeutic venting, the public display of distress. This asceticism is flawed because Stoicism does not ask you to suppress the feeling, but to delay the reaction to the feeling. The crowd believes vulnerability equals strength. The elder knows uncontrolled emotion equals predictability. They fear the hard work of internal processing, preferring the cheap momentary release of external expression. The reality is that true strength lies in the measured, intentional deployment of your energy. When you react immediately, you are predictable, easily manipulated, and you cede respect instantly. The Navajo perspective emphasizes that your words and actions carry weight. They are not to be wasted on immediate, trivial responses. The pause is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of self-command, forcing the world to wait for your decision. The method is practical, requiring surgical separation of the event from the judgment. This is the first of the 9 habits, the use of measured speech. The Navajo elder does not fill silence with noise. He applies a ruthless editing process to every sentence before it leaves his mouth. The methodology demands that you stop speaking to occupy space and start speaking only to transmit essential information. Before you respond, ask, "Is this necessary? Is this kind? Does this improve the silence?" The training begins with self-imposed vocal restraint. During a heated discussion or a moment of perceived urgency, force a 3-second delay before articulation. This 3-second window is where mental discipline is forged. It converts a knee-jerk reaction into a strategic response. Seneca noted that hasty words are the greatest betrayers of character. By minimizing extraneous vocal output, your necessary words gain gravitational pull. They carry the weight of deliberation, not the feather lightness of panic. This restraint signals self-possession, the bedrock of respect. The first revelation of this practice is the sudden acquisition of internal space. By refusing the immediate verbal output, you create a buffer zone between the stimulus and your response. This space is where clarity resides. Habit number 2 is the practice of stillness in motion. The elder moves deliberately without unnecessary fidgeting or hurried pace. Modern existence rewards rushing, but the rushed person communicates anxiety and a lack of control over their schedule. Stop treating every transition, every walk across a room as a race. The respect-commanding individual is never visually busy. They possess a kind of physical inertia. The Stoic understands that outward franticness is a mirror of inner chaos. By slowing down your gait, by eliminating nervous energy, the tapping foot, the excessive hand gestures, you signal to the external world that you are not being controlled by the clock or by the whims of others. You set your own rhythm. This quiet authority is immediately felt, not rationalized. This strategy works because it leverages human instinctual wiring. We are programmed to interpret stillness as power and urgency as threat or weakness. When the elder is still, the mechanism is simple. His physical calm forces the other party to lean in, both literally and psychologically. They must expend energy to close the perceived distance, granting him the position of anchor. Habit number 3 is the non-negotiable standard of attention. When the elder listens, he is completely present. There is no parallel processing, no glancing at a distant clock or digital screen. He engages with deliberate, unhurried eye contact, a rare commodity in a distracted age. This mechanic is a direct application of the dichotomy of control. Attention is entirely internal, entirely manageable. By giving your full, undivided attention to the task or person in front of you, you assign it temporary maximum importance. This level of focus is automatically translated by the recipient as profound respect, which in turn commands respect back to the source. It is an investment, not a cost. The consequence of ignoring these practices is structural decay. If you refuse the discipline of stillness and measured speech, you become structurally unreliable. People will unconsciously filter your input because they know it is likely noise, not signal. You will find yourself constantly re-explaining, defending, and justifying, exhausting your social capital. Habit number 4 is honoring your own commitments first. The elder does not overpromise or casually commit time he does not possess. If you commit to yourself, a specific waking time, a specific task completion, and fail, you signal to your own system that your word is cheap. This internal breach of contract is invisible to others, yet it radiates outward as low self-worth. If you cannot rely on yourself, why should anyone else? Epictetus insisted that true freedom comes from wanting things only within your control. Your word is one of those things. Failure to guard it makes you a liability in your own life. The next challenge is the subtle tyranny of expectation. Habit number 5 is the elimination of neediness. This is the core Stoic practice applied socially. You must fundamentally stop needing approval, appreciation, or validation from the group to function. Neediness leaks out as flattery, excessive enthusiasm, or unsolicited agreement. The Navajo approach dictates self-reliance and emotional independence. The elder simply does his duty and allows the results to speak. When you are needy, you broadcast your internal deficit, inviting pity or manipulation, never respect. Habit number 6 is the ownership of errors. When the elder makes a mistake, he does not equivocate, blame circumstance, or offer a list of mitigating factors. He states the error clearly, assesses the repair, and moves forward. This clarity is an aggressive display of character. Hiding behind excuses erodes trust. Taking immediate, cold ownership of a flaw paradoxically builds unshakable confidence, because it shows the audience that your self-worth is independent of your perfect performance. These habits connect directly to a larger, recurring cycle of human history, the relationship between internal strength and societal chaos. Respect is only truly earned when external conditions are unstable. When society is comfortable, cheap affection and popularity are mistaken for authority. But when the winds shift, during economic collapse, political upheaval, or existential threat, the only individuals who maintain command are those who mastered their internal landscape during the quiet times. Habit number 7 is the discipline of physical endurance. The elder's body bears the evidence of functional labor and deliberate discomfort. This is memento mori applied physically. The Stoic trains for hardship, the soft man prays for comfort. When crisis arrives, the physically resistant individual is trusted because he has proven his capacity for self-management under duress. This is why armies look to the hardened veteran, not the loudest recruiter. Inner discipline is the currency that never devalues, regardless of the inflation of external approval. The final 2 habits define the individual who outlasts the immediate generation. Habit number 8 is the practice of necessary confrontation. The elder avoids conflict, but he does not fear it. He confronts injustice or incompetence directly, without malice, solely for the purpose of restoring order, hoju. Crucially, he engages only when necessary and retreats immediately once the issue is addressed. This selective use of force ensures that his confrontation is always received as gravity, never petty squabble. Habit number 9 is the ritual of daily audit. The elder does not wait for disaster to examine his character. Every evening requires the Senecan review. Where did I deviate? Where did I overreact? What unnecessary words did I expend? This meticulous private self-assessment prevents the slow, unnoticed erosion of character that plagues the undisciplined. The legacy of true authority is not wealth or fame, but the unshakable quality of the self you leave behind. The person who operated entirely on their own terms, unburdened by the opinions of men. The fortress is built. The training is complete. You have the 9 habits: measured speech, stillness in motion, non-negotiable attention, honoring commitments, elimination of neediness, ownership of errors, physical endurance, necessary confrontation, and daily audit. These are not techniques for popularity. They are blueprints for autonomy. You must decide if you will continue to live in the chaotic republic of external opinions, or if you will establish the rigid, quiet sovereignty of your own mind. Respect is not a gift. It is a tax the world pays to those who have mastered their internal territory. Start the audit tonight. Find the weakest point in your day, the moment you reacted instead of responded, and reinforce that wall tomorrow. The fight is constant. Your discipline is the only weapon that matters.